everybody. So today's makeup look is this. It's basically my natural glam. I wouldn't say it's heavy coverage, but it's coverage. It's much different than what I did for my 5-minute makeup. Everything I do is pretty much a soft glam that I would do on a bride, except for this lip. The lip was kind of got away with myself and had fun. But everything else I would do on a bride who wanted natural glam. I would add a false lash. This is just mascara. Pretty natural, pretty glistening with like a hint of smoke. So yeah, keep watching and you will see how I did this. So the main thing when you are wearing more makeup is you wanna really prep the skin. That's what's going to prevent caking and just looking really heavy. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is some skin prep. I'm going to use an eye cream. There you go. Eye cream is really great for depuffing. It pours a little bit of extra moisture into your skin. And this stuff goes a really, really, really long way. You want like the tiniest little bit. And I'm just gonna kind of distribute it on my ring finger, even it out a little bit. And then you're just going to very gently pat it in there. Okay, so next thing I do is primer. I use 2 primers. So I use one primer to kind of give me a glistening glow, and then I use a teeny bit of a mattifying primer because I have a little bit of these pores in here and I like to fill those in. The kind of glistening one I use is by Charlotte Tilbury. So I just kind of pop it all over here. And the really nice thing about this is it makes you have to use less foundation, this one especially, because it has color in it. So you can see it gives off like a lot of shine. And then I'm gonna go in with that mattifying primer. And I will actually put a list of where you can buy everything below. So I got about that much. I just go in the areas that I want to fill in and get really matte. Okay, so next up is brows. I use this pencil. It is the NYX Crayon Brow Pencil. So next thing is I prep my eyes for makeup. What I do for this, you can use an eyeshadow base. I tend to just use concealer because you're just buying one product then versus 2. This is the Kat Von D Lock-It Concealer Cream in Neutral. And I just go directly onto my eye there. And I'll spread it out with a concealer brush. This is actually a Bare Minerals concealer brush. And I go into that inner corner too. And once I have very little product on my brush, I bring it up around the brows. But the thought on this is you want to kind of blank out any discoloration you have in that area. And then it also just gives a really smooth base to blend shadows onto. And then I will set that. This is just a Morphe 433. And I'm just going to set that with some translucent powder. And the translucent powder that I'll use throughout this whole video is RCMA. It's just a really nice, super thin powder. I'm just gonna set that in there. Set that in there. Now for the eyes. The first thing I start out with is my first crease color. To make my life simple, I like to double up on products. I can of course whip out a palette with all these colors for you, but I'm really trying to think with what's accessible for you and do you really want to go out and buy palette after palette. So I will use a palette at some point in this, but I like to kind of multi-use products. I think it's just smart. So Hoola, an amazing bronzer, I'm going to use as my first crease color. And I'm going to use a Morphe 441, which is just a really nice fluffy eyeshadow brush. And I'm going to do kind of a little rainbow motion here. Kind of swirl it on that outer edge and I'm kind of bringing it up a little bit. And then back to rainbow. There we go. That's my first go at the crease, okay? So the next thing I will do is go in with my lid color. This is one of those multitasking products, MAC Soft and Gentle. This is a highlighter. I use it as a highlighter. I also use it as an eyeshadow. So what I do is, this is just a little e.l.f. brush. Just go into that highlight. Now, I, at this point, either spray my brush with a little bit of water, or if you have Fix Plus, I spray that on there. Gets it wet, and it gets it this really beautiful foiled look. Sometimes it gets it almost too wet, and if I feel like it's not saturating like I want it to, I go in with just a little more dry product, and that just really brightens up. Next, I'm going to start kind of smoking this out a little bit. So I'm going to take the Jaclyn Hill by Morphe palette. So I'm going to start with this color, and I'm using a different brush now. I'm using a Morphe 433. You can see it's a little bit more, it's not as fluffy. It's a little bit easier to do like detailed work with this. And kind of start around the middle of the eye and gently brush out and up. You don't want to go down. And then as I'm getting less product here, kind of bringing it up a little bit. And the secret to eyes is blending. Don't get freaked out if it looks a little heavy at first. Just keep blending. And I have almost no product on my brush at that point, so I'm kind of bringing it up and out. And don't worry if it seems like it's getting messy down here. That's why I do eyes first. That's why I do not do my face first. We've now done the first crease color with the bronzer, second color kind of in that outer V. We still do bring it into that crease area as well. And I'm actually going to go with that first fluffy brush and just kind of go over the top here and just kind of smooths it all out. And then I'm going to go in with one last color, a dark color in that little tight corner there. So I'm going to use this little guy. This is an e.l.f. brush. And I'm gonna go in a pretty dark color here. We were there, and now we're gonna go here. Tap it off. Right in that corner here. Kind of carving out that V more. And then I'm gonna go back in with that fluffy brush and buff it out. And I will actually go in with a little bit of this lighter color here. Tap it off. And again, buff it out. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a makeup wipe. Boop. I am going to clean that up. And when it comes to this area, I want my shadow to kind of follow that line. I don't want it to go too high, don't want it to go too low. Almost like at a 45-degree angle. And I just get right about there and drag. Next we will do foundation. And I use Makeup Forever Ultra HD. This is an R260. And I put it right onto my brush, a Morphe M439. I go in circles. Now we will do concealer. Okay, so I'm gonna go back in with that Kat Von D concealer that I used on my eyelids. Draw it right on. And blend it in. And you can't really tell, but I'm just kind of like paddling it. You know, I'm moving it, but I'm just kind of encouraging it to sink in. All right, so the next thing I will do is set that. I use another Morphe brush, the Morphe M438. I go into that translucent powder again. I actually will tap into it and then try to tap most of it off. Then I will go into more of that powder with a big fluffy brush. We have the Morphe G7. Ooh. Tap off, set the whole thing. Okay, so next is bronzer. I'm gonna go back into that Hoola. And I have a bronzer brush I love, which is the Morphe E34. Kind of swirl and tap. I start from about the ear and bring it in. And I do little circles. You wanna make sure to always start up here because you're gonna have the most product on your brush. If you start down here, you're gonna be like the darkest here. And you wanna kind of fade that into your face. And then once you have almost nothing, I do that to kind of warm up the face in general. Around the hairline. And I go around the bottom. And then I will do a little bit on my nose. The M433, that kind of defined brush versus the fluffy one. I go under my lip. It gives the illusion that your bottom lip is a little fuller. And then I like to kind of minimize that little bump on my nose. And then I kind of detail the end a little bit. It's just fun. On to blush. I really like this Milani Baked Blush in Illuminoso. And for this, I will use an e.l.f. brush. It's actually just called a blush brush. And I do like a little smile, which kind of gives me my starting point. And then I do, once I have gotten most of the product off the brush, kind of bring it back there and kind of join it up with the bronzer. Next, I do highlight. So for highlight, I use a Morphe M510. Looks like that. It's kind of like a giant eyeshadow brush. And I do a little swirl in this MAC Soft and Gentle, which is the same thing we used on that lid, remember? And I go right on top of my cheekbones. I also go a little on my nose. Go, this is called your Cupid's bow. Go right there. And then I go on the temples. And then I will take another little brush here. This is called the Morphe E36. And I will go right here. We'll also go right there. So the next thing I would do is actually phase back to my eyes. I would do some eyeliner. This is the MAC Eye Kohl spelled with the K in Teddy. I pull my eye tight and I am just kind of like dotting and pushing into my lash line to the point that I'm almost pushing my lashes out of the way. But I like to stay really tight in there. You see that? See how tight that is? And I do all the way to the edge. To the edge, I do like to get a little thicker. So I'll start to kind of bring it up a little bit. And then for the wing, what I do is I kind of follow that shadow. You don't want to hold tight on this, at least for me, so I have some looser skin there. If I hold tight, the second I release, it won't look great. So it's a real challenge because I always try to. I hold it, but I don't hold it tight. Kind of get that angle going like that. Let go, make sure you like it. And then I'm like that angle enough. So I'm gonna hold it tight actually now, and I'm gonna drag it to connect it. And then you can kind of soften that line out from the shadow from earlier. The next thing I will do is curl my lashes and put on mascara. Okay guys, so I put mascara on. If I was going out with friends, I would probably put on false lashes. I don't know if that's something that you guys are interested in seeing, but that's probably what I would do. If I'm not doing that, then I would do lip snacks. I'm gonna go bold, and I'm going to use MAC Rebel, which is probably my all-time favorite color. Oh, and I'm going to line with, this is Real Colors Hydra Lip Long Wear Gel Pencil in Pinup Pink. And this is the MAC Rebel. Is that not the best color ever? It's so fun. It's like almost like a classic red, but with a berry twist. So next thing I would do is I would go across my bottom lash line with a little bit of that same bronzer. And kind of connect it over here. And then I will go back into that Jaclyn Hill palette and pick up that first darker color and just kind of smoke it out a little bit and connect. What do you think? It's like a natural look with a bold lip. So I hope you can humor me in wanting to have a little bit of fun with the lip. Aside from the lip, that is pretty similar to what I do on most brides. Of course, we do a false lash as well, but that's pretty much it. That's my natural glam. I usually, if I am going out, I use a Morphe setting spray that'll just make it last all night. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.